Narcissism and autism. What's the difference? I've noticed that some people don't seem to know what the difference is. There's a great tendency today for people to believe they are autistic and rather than narcissistic. I think the reason for this is that if we say we are autistic, then it's sort of acceptable and almost pitied, dare I say, in society. No one's going to walk around saying, well, I'm a narcissist. Although having said that, there are a lot of elements of narcissism within autism. In the sense that the person, through no fault of their own, is very self-centred because that's the way they perceive the world. The reason I'm talking about this is because it gets a little tiring when people who are clearly not autistic in the sense that they are exercising many of the difficulties that autistic people find, they are wanting to say that what they are experiencing and their behaviour is due, through no fault of their own, to something that is acceptable within society. Now, the difference, you might say, well, how do you know the difference? Well, I know because I've studied both parties. I have autistic traits myself. I also have narcissistic traits myself, as every single person in the universe does. We can't escape that. But there is a real difference. An autistic individual will exhibit some self-centered perspectives on life, that life goes according to their needs. Because they have social difficulties, because they are unable to focus on perspectives that other people, neurotypicals, I think they call them. I think he said gorgeous, but that's not the right word. Neurotypicals exhibit the idea that they have empathy, that they are good in conversation. I mean, I know this is not exactly true because everybody can have social difficulties to a certain degree. It doesn't mean to say they're autistic, but an autistic person exhibits these things and doesn't always manage to understand how to change it. Now, a narcissistic individual will also exhibit the same thing. They will dominate a conversation. They don't know how to always have two-way conversation. Socially, they can be quite overpowering. Now, the difference is that ordinarily a narcissistic individual will do that by design. They cleverly weave situations so that they can exercise an element of control over their situation or over the individuals that are involved in whatever they happen to be doing. An autistic individual will not be able to do this. They will behave in a specific way, come what may, no matter what the effects are, and that is the difference. Narcissistic individuals, they design, they orchestrate, they manipulate, all for the effects that they are looking for to satisfy what their needs are. And often this will involve exercising some very, very abusive behaviour. Autistic individuals do not abuse for the sake of it. If they happen to abuse somebody by saying something that isn't very tactful, that isn't their fault. But there's a great difference. A narcissistic individual can exercise abusive behaviour, or they needn't exercise abusive behaviour if they're not trying to get to some goal, if they're not trying to achieve the object of the exercise that they're trying to manipulate. It's just an echo. Just an echo. It's but an echo. Just an echo. It can be a very difficult thing to understand and to work at understanding if you're learning about it, but it is possible. There's a sort of an open-ended idea with narcissistic individuals in the sense that they scan situations and they have a broader perspective on life. They almost see, as I sometimes say, in, round, through and beyond situations. And so therefore they can take each individual element of a situation and manipulate it for their own ends if they wish to. An autistic individual will not have that broader perspective. They're much more focused on the thing they've got to do, and they do that. And any, you could say, narcissistic traits that manifest because of that, and these are not things that are deliberately manipulative. In other words, they're unlikely to exercise a charm, a kind of a charm that you don't know is a charm. And that's what narcissistic individuals would do. An autistic individual is never likely to do that. Black is black and white is white, just as it is with narcissistic individuals, except the black is kind of what you see is what you get, and so shall it always be. And the white is exactly the same. Narcissistic individuals, they're black and white, but it's open-ended. The black, it can go to any lengths at all, as long as they get what they wish out of the situation. That's all that matters. And then they'll stop. So they'll only manipulate and orchestrate something if they have to satisfy their needs. And their needs are great because they're very isolated and very small inside. I don't believe an autistic individual is like that. I believe they've got a much broader inner world, but it's what they do with that that's very different. So if you're somebody who is black and white in your thinking, it may not be that you're an autistic individual. It may not be that you're entirely a narcissistic individual, because if we're talking about narcissistic personality disorder, that's a full-blown thing. But we've all got traits. I think a lot of us have got autistic traits, but a lot of us, in fact more, have got narcissistic traits because of the way we're schooled to manage life today. So you can't really feel sympathy. You don't really feel sympathy for narcissistic individuals because they're manipulating. You might feel sympathy for an autistic individual, although when you're on the end of what they're delivering, sometimes you might not know the difference until you see how often they exercise what they're doing, how they regulate it, how it comes out almost accidentally, shall we say. A narcissistic individual, it appears to be accidental, but it won't be. It'll be engineered very cunningly. Oh gosh, there's a lot to learn about this, isn't there? I think we need to do it by degrees. We need to have little bits of information about this. There are elements of autism which I can't escape. For instance, I cannot catch a ball very well, and that this has always been the problem. And I don't know why, but it's like when someone throws a ball to me, it's like they're throwing it at me and it's going to hit me. So I tend to do the best I can, but I tend to look a bit silly when I'm playing ball. I can throw a ball. I throw the ball for Larry fairly well, but I can't catch it. I'm amazed at the way he catches it in his mouth, because I can't catch it in my hands. There's also another element with autistic individuals, that sometimes they can be the victims of abuse. They're not the abusers. The narcissistic individuals will be the abusers, and the autistic individuals will be the sometimes quite heavily abused. And I think that's rather unfair, but then this is a narcissistic world, isn't it? And it is unfair in a great many ways. You may find, if you're suffering narcissistic abuse, that the perpetrator, the one who is giving you the abuse, might well want to say they're autistic, and they might not be. There's no way an autistic individual would deliberately go out to abuse you by orchestrating some very, very clever genius type programs. They don't do that. You give an autistic individual something that they're into and they will stay with that. They won't bother about the rest of the world. They haven't got that broader perspective. They've got that broader inner world, unlike a narcissistic individual who's got a very teeny weeny ego sitting in there. It's just an echo. Just an echo. Autistic individuals won't know how to exercise what they've got in that great inner world. That's why a lot of them are genius at music and art and everything else, because they're just focused on what they want to do. They don't care about manipulating programs and doing this and that, because it's not their way. Narcissistic individuals need other people so that they can exercise what they have to do. And an autistic individual won't need to do that, bottom line, in a nutshell. I hope that's helped to open up that perspective of what these two individuals are about. Have a think about it. Okay, take care then. See you again soon.